In this video, we're going to take a look at how we can use the focus brush to specify where the blur and focus reside on our image. We're also going to look at how we can use the Vignette tool to draw the eye closer to the center of the frame. To start, I've applied a planar focus bug to my image, and so you can see that the primary area of focus is right here in the middle. But I want to bring the tree line up here in focus as well. To do that, I'm going to use the focus brush. The focus brush is located on the tool wheel at the bottom right of the screen. To start, I'm just going to select it to activate it. Notice the focus brush pane. There are 3 buttons, 3 sliders, and a few checkboxes. The first button controls the mode of the brush. The default mode is to paint focus in. If you click on it, you can see that there's also paint blur and erase. Paint focus will paint focus, paint blur will add blur back in, and erase will remove any changes you made to the mask. Next, there's the show mask and hide mask button. When you click on show mask, you're going to see the mask. The areas that are pure black are going to be in focus, the areas that are white are going to be out of focus, and the shades of gray are the transitions. If you click hide mask, it'll hide the mask and show you your original image. And finally, if you use the focus brush at all and you want to start over, just click reset mask to wipe out any of the strokes that you made. Below that, you have controls of the brush. First is the brush size. Sliding to the right will make the brush larger, and sliding to the left will make it smaller. The brush feather controls the transition from the hard edge of the brush to the soft edge of the brush. The larger the feather, the smoother the transition. And finally, you've got the brush opacity slider, which controls the strength of the brush. If you bring the opacity up to 100, the brush will be at full strength and either paint full focus or full blur. Below that are 2 checkboxes that support Wacom pressure sensitive tablets. So if you want to use the pressure sensitivity of your Wacom tablet to control the brush size or the opacity, you can do that. So now let's start painting in focus in the tree line. The first thing I'm going to do is make sure that I'm set to paint focus, and then I'm going to increase my brush size a bit and then decrease my feather. Next, I'm going to bring the focus to 100%, and now I'm going to just start drawing strips until I start revealing the areas of the tree line. Now you can see how as we get towards the top of the tree line, I want to make sure that I only get the trees in focus. So I'm going to bring my brush size down, and I'm going to bring the opacity to about 29 or 30%. And this is going to give me the ability to draw in focus slower. So you can see here how with each stroke I'm able to bring the focus in gradually. So that allows me to ensure that I'm not painting in focus behind the trees. And this would be something that I would do throughout the entire tree line. If you want to speed things up, you can bring the opacity up higher and paint in focus at a higher rate. If you want to paint blur back in, just click on the mode to paint blur, and my recommendation is to stick to about 9 or 10% to slowly bring blur back in so that it matches the blur pattern behind it. Finally, when you're done using the focus brush and you want to draw the eye towards the center of the frame, you can use the Vignette pane. The Vignette pane has 2 primary sliders. The first is lightness and the second is midpoint. The lightness will control how dark or bright the edges of the frame are. Below that are 2 checkboxes. The first is overlay blending, which will give your vignette a slightly darker look. And then there's Vignette follows focus bug. If Vignette follows focus bug is selected, the vignette's going to hug the actual shape of the bug. Whereas if you deselect it, it'll darken the edges evenly from the corner, which is my preferred method. So if I take the lightness slider and bring it down, the edges will get darker, and if I bring it up, they'll get brighter. With the midpoint, if I bring it to the left, the vignette will go towards the center of the frame, and if I bring it to the right, it'll hug the edges of the corners more. And this is how you can refine the blur mask of your image, as well as draw the eye to the center of the frame using FocalPoint.